Ninja go.
All right, we are live with Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's
apologize,
our intro.
apologize for the last session technical difficulties. We are going to be monitoring YouTube this time to make sure that it actually is going to be continuing to record, and we're also going to recap the information that we missed because the session got cut off without our knowledge or consent. So thank you, Google, for that.
Yes, that our viewers missed. I mean, we were all paying attention.
Yeah, it was their loss, not ours.
Yeah. So basically, we're going to be a week has passed since the events that have transpired in the Outpost 342, which is the dwarven outpost, which is all but abandoned because it ran out of its mines ran dry essentially, and it's kind of foundering slowly into a ruin. And our adventurers are staying at the Timberwinds Lodge where they've been all week, and so there's been kind of a slow trickle in of adventurers. And tonight, the Timberwinds Lodge is absolutely packed. It's at maximum capacity. Even some of the rooms that are less than desirable, that are kind of open to the elements, have been booked for a very cheap fare. The tavern area, the dining area, is abuzz with chatter, and there's drinks clinking around, and you can see the old dwarf that runs the establishment has hired on an extra hand to help him, a much younger-looking, wiry dwarf boy who is kind of clumsily following behind him and helping him bring out food and drink and doing the best they can. They're really struggling to keep up with this crowd, but everyone's in such a good mood that it doesn't seem to matter. There's no one complaining. There's no one causing a fight or a scene. There's just loud celebration. There's the smell of ale in the air, and everyone's kind of singing and talking to themselves, and a hush falls over the crowd, and one of the adventurers kind of holds up a mug, and you can see he totters a little bit on his heels, and he says, "The three adventurers who killed the beholder." And everyone goes, "Death to the beholder!" And everyone kind of holds up their tankards, and ale starts. You can hear ale sloshing out, and he says, "Come now, tell us the story again, please. Tell us how you did it." And he is going to behest Nephthys. He's going to point to you and say, "Tell us the story again. We want to know." And everyone just says, "Yes, tell us." And the music kind of fades. Somebody was in the back kind of playing some minstrel music, and they kind of bring the audio of the room down with their music, and then there's just a perfect silence as they all kind of collectively lean forward in anticipation of the story.
Hold on. Okay. Well, funny story. We went to the Grey Ruins. The Grey Ruins way that way, and I think that way. Maybe that way. Don't know. Don't care. There was the older there. There were demons, terrifying bear that attacked Poppy, and evil dragonborn paladin came at me, and I shook a house down on him. I'm not sure what happened with Resh. He went away somewhere. But he came back. He came back for the. He came back, and there was a beholder that came into the building where everyone was, and I pulled it towards me, and I yelled at it, and I screamed at it, shouting that he would defeat it. And then Resh and Poppy, they attacked it. The spells and Resh, he jumped on it with his sword and his halberd, and he jumped and he stabbed and stabbed. He tackled the thing from the air as we were running to the clock tower. And that is when finally the great eye glared at him and he said, "I will get you again, hobgoblin." And then the beholder was dead. The dead. It was a good fight. Good fight. Much ale for everyone.
And everyone goes, "Death!" And they kind of, there's this deafening cheer that kind of comes up from the group, and you can see the man who had demanded the story goes, more drinks for the adventure, adventurers." And with that, you can see the old dwarf kind of carrying a keg over his shoulder, and he taps it right in front of you guys, and he says, "First sips for the adventurer, who still need to pay me for the window, but that's no matter." And he kind of hands each of you, yeah, he kind of stares at where Poppy used to be, and he hands each of you. They look like they've been polished steins, I think is the right word. It looks like they're made out of brass, and looks like they're pretty old. And they've got intricate carvings of forest scenes on them. They've got wolves and bears and trees carved into them, and mountains in the distance. And he says, he starts to tap the keg and pour this thick ale into each of your steins. And I would like you, Daniel, to describe one thing about this ale that really stands out to you as you bring it to your lips.
Okay, I'm not muted. I was worried for a second. All right. So as Resh brings this drink to his lips, it's the first thing that he's ever tasted that tastes incredible to him. Because, you know, Hobgoblin war camps, the closest thing they'll ever get is, like, dwarven ale that's been left over. But this is rather fresh to him. It's like, I can't really explain it because most people don't remember, but, like, the first time you ever ate a fresh fruit is what he's feeling right now. And he just chugs it whole down. And he looks to Poppy, and he's like, "Got a few more silver. I think I need another."
Poppy's well through his last few drinks, and he looks up at Resh and he goes, "Well, well, I didn't really have any silver to begin with. Here's my copper."
And you would see the old dwarf kind of crane over you and say, "No charge for the adventurers, to be sure. This one's on the house. Well, it's not every day somebody brings this many paying guests, I might say." And he kind of pats the keg and hobbles off, the young dwarf in tow, kind of following with a big bus full of dishes that are jostling around in there. It's kind of almost sloshing around. And Nephthys, what is emblazoned with great embellishment on the side of this drink? What is this drink
On the side of this
called?
drink? Let's see here. This is the finest of the Matahala brews.
Okay. Can you put that in the chat just so I know how it's spelled?
Uh,
Is it Matahara? Matahala. Okay. And what is so special about a Matahala brew?
the Matahalas are the greatest brewcrafters in the entire continent. They've recently taken a dragonborn into their house, and he seems to be taking up the brewing craft well. But there are a couple dwarves. They used to own a small tavern, but then they grew in popularity, and it all went up from there.
Excellent. So this is a well-known brand, and it's a very expensive. Certainly not something that would be rolled out for your everyday occasion, unless you were extremely wealthy and didn't mind overloading your senses, as it were. Poppy, what kind of flavors and aromas are coming from this as you're holding it in your hands?
Well, when Pop tasted it, it reminded him of a really good version of the slop that he used to drink in his with his performance troupe back in the day, and it's an aromatic, just the flavors of each of the ingredients, the berries, the grains, all of them just pop out, and it's strong, and the smell, you don't smell alcohol, you smell a garden, an orchard, a wheat field. You smell every bit, and it has a flavor that he wished he could have back in those troop days, that he could share with those people, because back in the day it was all to just not wake up tomorrow. And with every sip and every whiff, he's just more and more taken back to the natural flavor of the ingredients. But at this point, he's forgotten how to taste.
Yeah, it's fair to say that Poppy, you're probably pretty far gone. Maybe not as even in your state though. You're kind of taken aback by the by the flavor and the fragrance and everything, just for a moment, like kind of getting slapped back to reality, and then kind of dipping back into a drunken state, kind of like sliding into a warm bath, and it's kind of washing over you, and the rest of the sounds start to kind of blur a little bit as the night wears on for you, and you all will continue to partake, I'm assuming, for the remainder of the evening, or...
Yeah.
Okay. So, I think, let's see, I'm just going to roll. And that is Poppy. That makes sense. So, Poppy, the morning sun is shining in your eyes. Describe where you are in this lodge and what odd position your body has found itself in.
As as Poppy cracks one eye, just that crusty, like, and then the burning sun. His head is more aflame than his firebolt, and he he's looking out the window, which is the worst part, and he cranes his head to the left, and he sees the fireplace upside down, and he's on something that feels really good, but his feet are hanging off, and they're like just the toes are touching the wall, and he's just really confused until he starts sliding headfirst off of the wolf head that was
Yes.
mounted on the wall, and there's a thud and a "Aye!"
Oh man, if you don't have inspiration, you have it now.
Well, thank you.
And let's see, Nephthys, you are woken by a loud thump and a "Aye!"
I imagine I am.
Slides off of this wolf's head. Where are you in relation to him, and how askance is your body in your which drunken sleeping position did you partake in?
Well, funny thing, when he looked over at the fireplace, he also saw a tiefling in said fireplace.
Nice.
And
Are
I
you-
just kind of bolt up and hit my head on the top of it. Oh, where did that come from? That, oh.
and you're just coated in soot. It's like, and there's
I
like
do not remember this at all. Poppy, you seem to have hit your head.
And it takes a moment for him to snap out like, "Who? What? Oh!" Like,
Oh.
Resh, you hear the sound of metal of pans being moved around. You open your bleary eye and you find yourself in the kitchen. Where in the kitchen are you? And what was I gonna say? And what's cooking?
Well, Resh actually woke up quite early, and upon hearing the noises in the other room, he just sort of shakes his head and like, oh, those boys can't handle the liquor. And like, if you look, he actually just has a pot inside a pot trying to cook the pot. And then like, upon the boys can't handle their liquor, and then in the pot. And then he's like, and then just sort of puts it away in the cupboard and puts another pot out.
Oh no! Okay, I got it. Okay, inspiration all around. I can't. Oh, I can't even. I'm gonna write
love
this
it,
down
Rush.
and completely
Love it.
forget what it means out of context, but I need to write this down. Yeah. You look behind you, Resh, and there's a young dwarven boy standing there with a big skillet full of scrambled eggs that he's starting to make, and he's just got this look on his face, like, did I just see you do that? But I don't want to cause trouble because I'm new here, kind of look. And he just kind of, he stares at you for a few minutes, and then he just snaps back to what he's doing and starts whisking eggs in the pan. He says, about ready, sir. Want to tell your friends?
Good. Oh, and Resh like reaches into his a bag, and he pulls out a beholder tooth. He's like, souvenir, don't tell anyone, and just walks in. Breakfast is ready. I helped.
The smell of scrambled eggs and something that is less pleasant kind of wafts through the door. Like it hits you in waves. Like you get this wonderful, glorious scrambled egg smell, and then frat house. But thankfully, after a passing moment, the overwhelming smell that permeates the air becomes these delicious scrambled eggs. And you can see the young boy kind of holding this pan almost up to head height for him, like a little too high, and he kind of drops the drops the skillet down on the table, and you can see you can hear it kind of sizzle against the wood of the table, and he just kind of goes, "Oh, damn, hey." And he just kind of like he runs back and he gets a cloth and he puts it under the skillet and he puts it back on the table, and he kind of trips over himself as he goes back there, and he just kind of stands at the door, gives a little bow, and says nothing. He just kind of disappears back into the kitchen.
Poppy's gonna, after the ringing in his ears goes away, he's gonna look around for his stuff to make sure he has everything. He's not missing articles of clothing. He doesn't have extra clothing. And he's gonna spend his time avoiding the food for a little bit
Yeah.
and finding his stuff until his stomach is not going to spit acid fire.
And
Smart man.
there's actually a couple of adventurers that had been there the night before that are kind of collapsed about their room, and one of them is like cradling Nephtos' staff.
Hey!
Like it's a teddy bear almost. And he's just like you can see a line of drool like coming out of his mouth, and he's just snoring loudly in one of the benches. And if you try to nab at Nephtos, he kind of protests a little bit, like in his sleep, like. But after a minute, you can kind of slide it out.
I definitely do. It's mine.
It seems to be a little bit oilier than it was before, but aside from that, it seems to be in pretty good condition. But if you guys check your, check your gear. Other than that, you guys seem to have everything that you had the night before. Plus a few extra coins that you don't remember earning.
Oh.
It's that whole blackout drunk and wake up with more money sensation. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh my. How much? How much exactly? Because
It's not much. It's there's kind of a tradition to give coin to adventurers, just to like a copper coin or a silver or something, just as a token of respect, basically, especially during that kind of a celebration. You might even do like where you put the coin in a drink and you have to chug the drink, that kind of thing. But it's nothing like you're thinking.
yes, well, anything's better than
It
what
might be.
I have. Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah, and you.
Poppy at this time is going to join his fellow adventurers, stepping slowly over some bodies, some people bigger than him who could take a lot more than he could. And as they're pretty much finishing, because he's really had to settle down, he joins them with a, well, gentlemen, that was fun. I think.
Hey, if you can remember it being fun, then you are better off than I am. Mm.
Oh.
And if anyone wants to keep track, there is half of that keg still left.
Oh no.
I know it's the last thing on your mind right now, but
Oh,
just to keep it in mind that there is a bit of that left.
oh.
And underneath it is a big, just a huge, like, huge overweight dwarf just, like, flat on his back on the floor. And you can see that, like, the beer is kind of trickling into his mouth a little bit and burbling out. Just a little, like a faint stream of it. And as he snores, it kind of bubbles out, like,
Lam Drahakri. And I'm gonna mage hand his face a little out of the way, just like, we don't want anybody else dead. I'm not sure if we have accounted for everyone. Just like one of those, no.
you see his mouth kind of open and close a little bit at the empty air, and you hear him go, like, very faintly. But with that, the door kind of creaks open a little bit louder than you remember it being, and you hear footsteps approaching, and you see Bori kind of gingerly stepping over the bodies, strewn about the room, saying, "Oh, I don't miss those days." And he's just kind of looking to you all and saying, "Well, hell of a celebration for the last night, eh? We'll be heading out soon."
Yes, sir.
And you sort of, in a hungover way, kind of remember talking to him a few days ago about how you're going to escort him to Mandara, a coastal city that's just to the southwest, and with the money that you had given to Laura, they were able to kind of get out of the town and find a cheap place to live there. So they're kind of in the midst of moving what little they have to try and start anew in a more prosperous setting. So he's kind of proposed that since you're going there, most likely going there anyway. Sounds like from what cryptic orders you've gotten, that you might as well travel together. Since
I assume we've been keeping up with Laura and Bori the whole time, and making sure, especially Resh, with the way he reacted to that little girl, he was more protective than any one of us.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a kinship there now, especially now that some more time has passed, and the three of you are essentially godfathers in your own respects to this girl, and she calls each of you uncle. So, like, if she walks up to you, she would call you Uncle Resh and Uncle Poppy and Uncle Nephthys. And she actually does as she enters the room. She says, "Uncle Resh, Uncle Poppy, Uncle Nephthys." And she just kind of, you can tell that she's wearing a much better looking, dress that actually fits her. And she kind of jumps into your arms, Resh.
Oh, as Resh, like, isn't ready for this. Oh, I got something for you. He reaches into the bag where he pulled out the beholder tooth, but he pulls out a necklace of beholder teeth and puts it on her. And then he, like, sets her down. He's like, no, give me a minute. Just woke up.
And she just kind of looks at it and says, "It's so pretty. You smell like Daddy used to."
Mm.
She just kind of shakes, the things that children say, she just kind of says that without thinking and just kind of starts
Yeah.
looking at the necklace and puts it around her neck. She says, "Daddy says we're going on an adventure."
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we all are. Mm.
She's like,
In about an hour.
yeah,
Oh, that's today?
Oh,
and Morty
good.
just kind of has an annoying grin and he says, "Hey, eat your breakfast first. We're in no hurry."
Maybe should not have drank so much.
And he says, "Mathala, I presume."
Hey, indeed.
There's no resisting. Why do you think I stayed home last night?
Smart man, smart man.
Good on you.
And he kind of takes a seat with you, and Laura kind of sits opposite of you if you guys are at the table. And they just start to kind of the clumsy little dwarf boy kind of comes out with a big platter with some bacon and toast and things like that on it, and kind of sets it down in front of you, and it's a pretty reasonable pile, definitely more than would normally be needed for this occasion, but somebody seems to have been aware that you would be needing something like this in the morning. So you guys kind of eat heartily if you so choose. Your nausea has passed at this time. If you've had any, the thing that you all kind of remember at the same time about the Mathala, the Mathala that makes it especially good is the second that you begin to ingest any kind of food, that nauseous sensation just vanishes, and your hangover, all of your symptoms just kind of, almost as if somebody has cast a spell on you, kind of drains away.
That's much better. Ah,
Hey. Now I'm ready to face day.
Agreed. And
and
Resh just starts cracking bones.
and like forgetting what it actually felt like, all this pain, just like his mood changes around. So he's back in like yay mood, and he's like, as there are people just laying around, just like tossing, like what is going on? Just like yes, I oh, oh. Making another ruckus for no reason.
And a couple of the adventurers kind of stagger to their feet that have been asleep, and their initial reaction is to give you a death glare, but then they remember the celebration the night before, and it's that slow change, that slow 180 of emotion from "I hate you" to "Oh yeah, that guy, I love that guy."
Hello, that guy.
And they all kind of pile near the window where the food comes out, and they're kind of clawing at at the opening and saying, "Boy, bring us food." You can hear the boy frantically throwing some kind of meat on a stove. You can hear it sizzling. And the smell of that kind of wakes the rest of them up as you take your leave. And you can see actually a pretty healthy looking horse, or more accurately, it's a pony. It's a smaller horse dragging a cart that's probably just big enough for you all, and then it's got a little trunk for storage. And you see that Bori and Laura are making their way to it.
On the way out, I think Poppy would like tap one of the less recovered adventurers, and just like whisper, the ruins are all cleaned out now. You can go ahead and try to find what's ever left there. It's all yours. No one needs it.
And you're saying that to who?
Oh, just one of the adventurers who came after the big beholder party. Just one of the people, the people we partied with. Just giving them like, you can do it too. There's nothing to worry about now. We got rid of it.
Yeah, and they're just kind of limbering up, like those who have eaten now are kind of doing stretches and doing melee practice with their swords and practicing their spells, and they're essentially you get the idea from them that they're that's what they were there for. They want to see if there's more to be had here. They've heard rumors, and there's the prospect of exploring an abandoned mine just seems to have kind of spread this rumor across the land that has brought people from far and wide. You have created a tourist trap. if
Hopefully it's not a trap.
temporarily. But yeah, if you tell them that they're free to take what's left, they kind of give a little little harump, like a hurrah, and then someone goes, hell yeah, and he swings his axe into the dirt. But is there anything else you'd like to do before you depart?
Resh just yells, "Hey, if you need food, double pot special still good."
What have you? Oh, yeah. Would you guys like to? Someone like to drive, or how'd you like to do it?
We have a cart, you say?
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of like an open. I imagine it's kind of like the kind of cart you would take a hay ride in, except without the hay, and it's got like a trunk towards the back of it. It's essentially a treasure, what would be considered a treasure chest, but just with whatever goods and sundries in it. So Bori would kind of turn to you all and say, "Anybody want to drive? We're probably gonna have to take
Niftos
shifts."
will drive.
Okay. It's not a terribly long journey, but you'll definitely have to take shifts lest one of you fall asleep at the wheel. This is the road to Mendara should be safe enough, but we'll have to camp for the night. And he kind of turns to you all out of earshot of Laura, and his voice gets quieter, and he says, "At nightfall, that's when you'll get your bite." And he just kind of gives a knowing nod and takes a seat in the cart.
Neftos nods at him with a very confused look on his face, looks at Poppy, I do not know.
And
Yeah.
Poppy turns to Resh and like like turns back to Neptos and turns back to Resh like, you know, you know too? Like,
Uh, we don't get to eat till night.
That is what I am hearing.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of the ritual or not. I'm gonna go ahead and say no. So it's a very strange thing that he just said. You could take it for whatever you will.
Is it possible this Bori is a vampire?
Well, he is kind of ashen skinned, but he's a very short vampire to be sure, if that is the case.
The sun would have melted him, right?
yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah, and the sun is out in full bale. There's not a cloud in the sky. It's pretty nice and
Good
warm.
point.
And now that the morning sun is slowly turning into an early afternoon sun, and it is a pretty, let's say, what's the right word? Uneventful journey. The road is pretty much empty as far as you can see as the first few hours pass. You only see a few other travelers, mostly heading towards Mendara, and not very many heading towards the outpost anymore. It seems that all of the adventurers who would go there are there, and now that the word has spread that you're no longer staying there, that's kind of losing its appeal already. But you can certainly tell that the Timberwinds has seen some pretty nice profits this past week. So you can at least go knowing that some good has been done, and just by you being there.
I think we've probably gotten to know each other a little bit better,
Probably.
especially since Poppy is constantly talking and asking questions. And,
Well, we all definitely know Poppy.
Yeah.
And I was going to actually ask you guys if you wanted to describe what you did during the week. During the week that had just passed.
I imagine we told the tale over and over and over again.
and it gets better and better each time.
It gets more embellished and more more and more departed from the truth with every retelling.
Neftos is good at avoiding truth.
It's all in the phrasing, man.
All in the phrasing.
Anything else that you guys have been up to? Or was it just kind of enjoying the local celebrity and visiting with Laura and Bori?
I'd say I probably talked to Bori about the Rainbow Gem a bit.
Okay.
Just
And-
wondering what all is up with that. Why it was colorful in the light, but not during the rain.
And he would be noticeably kind of silent about it. He would kind of change the subject a little bit,
Of course he would.
but in a way that leads you to believe that it's more of a you'll see thing rather than a I can't tell you because it's too horrible kind of thing. Like, it's not a negative thing, it's just more of a I don't want to spoil the surprise.
Oh God.
Poppy would basically have tagged along just even if Resh and Neftos had separated, for different things. He'd like have run between the two, spent half the day with one, half the day with the other. But the day after we brought Laura back, I would have visited Bori. I wouldn't say alone, but like I would have pulled him aside, maybe with Resh, playing with Laura, or Nefdos, making sure he didn't, Bori didn't magically have something worth stealing. But I would have asked him if he had had enough material and enough time to maybe make a dagger before we had left.
And he would kind of flex a little bit, like stretch out, and he would say, "It's been a long time that I could probably fire up the forge." And he would actually turn to you and say, "But a true adventurer helps forge his own weapons," and he would kind of behest you to help in the process, help to temper the steel and to sharpen the blade and to use the hammer and the anvil and to work the bellows and that kind of thing. And you're kind of when it is finally complete, you can tell that this is somebody who used to, or still does in a lot of ways, love his craft. There's a lot of detail in this. This is a dagger that is functional, but it's also almost elegantly ornate. So describe to me something. What is this dagger? What is on this dagger? Because you had a bit of say in what you wanted it to look like and how you wanted it to be.
Well, Hoppy didn't really. All he wanted was a dagger. It didn't have to be elaborate or beautiful, but Bori put his heart and soul into it. And sometimes with steel, especially, he may not have worked. He knows his craft. Bori knows his craft, but he may not have done it in quite some time. And at one point, I feel like he didn't have this, the material hot enough. I assume it's like steel or something. I didn't think he made me a silver one, but
Pure adamantine dagger.
no. But say a certain part didn't get hot enough before we started heating it. I think the part that Poppy would have contributed with would have been using a magic flame to basically blowtorch this metal, to scorch it with mystic flame, and maybe it left. You know how when you heat metal, it has like that scar to it, but maybe it's like a purple, like a color-changing purple, blue, in the light, and it's just ingrained in part of the blade. Just the top half of it is just a wavy, vibrant, color-changing effect.
Like when you put a screwdriver in a light socket.
Yes, that's a specific example.
I'm now a little worried about you.
It was my dad.
Oh.
So yeah. Yeah, so dagger?
Oh yeah, it's exactly like you describe it, because it's got that beautiful coloration to it, almost like an acid etched. If you've ever seen an acid etched steel, really beautiful. And it's, even though it was kind of an accidental type of thing, like a solution to the metal not quite being forged properly, it looks intentional now. It's very it's very nice looking. It's just that extra little finishing touch to it. And so I imagine as you guys are kind of making your way down this road, you're probably kind of taking some time to look at it and maybe carving something or something like that.
carving out a new
Mentos
die.
is surprised that Poppy was able to lift the hammer.
And Resh, to answer your question in the chat, I think you said you know his last known. You kind of have a general idea of where his last known location is.
Yeah, but like, is that cool?
Yeah, you can send it. You can send it maybe to where your family is, and presume that it'll get to him.
Alright, so,
What would you like to say in the letter?
well, first, this was back the whole week that had passed. Resh has been selling beholder tooths as sort of a souvenir, and slowly collecting enough money, and pulled aside from pretty much everybody, and if Poppy was with him at the time, he sort of sent him away, and has asked, he's with this half-orc man, and he asked him to, just go to the Breglins, which is what they should be called now, as Breg probably inherited chiefdom, and, just check on him, return to me, and just tell him Resh sent you, he'll know. But make sure nobody else is around.
Okay. And you, as you're riding on the road, you can't help but think back to a few key memories that you've had with your brother. And if any of this is incorrect, just let me know, because I'm going off of my own memory here, which is not entirely accurate, I'm sure. But we kind of would see, or you would see in your mind's eye yourself, you and your brother kind of crawling on your hands and knees in this muck and this mud, and this kind of makeshift razor vine wire has stretched across the top of you, and you can see to the left and to the right of you that there's other hobgoblins crawling their way through this mucky water, and you can hear an older hobgoblin yelling down at you, "You scum! You move! You move or you die! You move or you die!" And you hear whips kind of cracking overhead. "You would be dead by now!" And he kind of leans towards you, "Especially you, half-breed!" And you can almost hear the spittle hitting your skin as he leans in and to yell at you. What did you do in this moment?
You can see Resh clench his fist, and he's about to just pretty much tear this drill sergeant apart, but Breg just digs his hand into his shoulder and pushes him forward. And just, not now. Later.
And you kind of flash forward now to melee combat with those wooden swords and wooden spears, and you're in like a circle, surrounded by hobgoblins in a loose circle, and there's a much larger hobgoblin standing there with a sword, just kind of chuckling at you, and you can feel the bruises all over your body, and your sword is kind of in the mud as he towers over you, and he says, "You're nothing. Lower than scum. I should leave you for dead. Pick it up."
And over the crowd, Resh will hear Breg yell, 49, and they have secret plans for training, and Resh sort of just kicks this guy in the knee, and kips up, and pokes both his eyes, and takes his sword out of his hand, and reaches for his, and does like a dual-handed come-at-me thing.
And it's one of those moments, I would imagine, and you can stop me if it's not what you think you would do in this situation, but I imagine it's one of those moments where you just snap, and you're just wailing on this guy with this wooden sword as he's on the ground, like beyond the point of almost beyond the point of no return as he starts screaming and telling you to stop, and you feel a hand grab you, grab your sword hand, and you feel your brother's grip on your hand, and he's again he repeats the words. What was it? Not now? Was that what he said before?
Later.
Later.
Not now, later. Rest just nods and puts the swords in the ground next to the guy and just walks away.
And we see now, towards the end of this kind of a boot camp that you go through as a younger child, that the attitude that is given towards you by this group is noticeably different now. There's almost a bit of respect among your peers as they watch you, and they're cheering you on. You're climbing hand over hand, and your feet are wrapped around this slick rope, and there's razor vine underneath you, and you're about 50 feet dangling over the air, and they're just cheering. It's the moment where they've gone from jeering to cheering. Like they almost the noticeable moment of change where they're like, "What he might actually do it! I nailed a little run. Can you believe it?" And you hear Bragg's voice out louder than the rest, cheering you on as you reach the end of this rope. And you kind of in a stark contrast, you start to remember another time where a rope was used. You suddenly remember being tied to a post, and this is some more time has passed. You're older now, and you're tied to a stake by this rope, and surrounded again on all sides by these hobgoblins. And the bigger one, his eyes kind of a little bit off to one side now from what you did to him, but he steps in the middle of the circle, and he says, "This one will practice the magic. Gene Rye, the runt, I knew it all along. Traitor, we must burn him." And everyone just kind of cheers in agreement, and you kind of feel these stones hitting your body that are being thrown from the group. What does Bragg say and do at this moment?
Bragg is completely silent, and as much as it's hurting him to watch, he keeps his eyes on his brother, just shaking his head like he can't believe this is happening.
And you see the torch get lit, and they start to get closer to the stake, and your eyes snap open, and you're back on the road again.
Riss just sighs, and at this point I'd imagine he's driving, because we've switched out, and then someone take the reins, and he goes in the back.
Yeah, and there's really not a lot of there's really no way to physically hide on this kind of cart, but you're probably, I would imagine, as far away from the others as possible. What would you two who have just seen this, what's going through your mind? What would you like to do? Oh, I think you're muted, Grady. Yeah. You're not muted, but you're muted. I'm not sure what happened.
Nope.
Oh, there.
I can't hear him.
Yeah, we
I
can't
can't
hear
hear
you.
him. It happened.
Did you accidentally?
It really happened.
24 hours.
Did you accidentally hit the mute button on your headset, or unplug your headset?
I'll be right back. Well, I'm not going anywhere. Just gonna turn the camera off.
Okay, no problem. Try Grady. Try F5ing, maybe refreshing. Yeah, we were. If
Huh.
uh-oh, I hope he comes back.
He's refreshing.
Google Hangouts. We don't need another one from Google Hangouts.
They're trying to stop us from becoming famous.
Yeah, the
See you
provokers
later,
never
man.
got this kind of problem. Actually, they did.
Yeah.
But only once. Try saying something, Grady?
Hello?
There we
Hey!
Oh, he's back.
go. Awesome. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened, but I'm glad it's back now.
Well, let's,
It does that sometimes. It's Google Hangouts is weird like that.
can you still hear me?
Yeah,
Yes, you're good.
we'll let you know.
Naftos, go. I got off track.
Yeah, basically you just saw Resh tell you to take the reins, and he kind of moved away from everybody.
Oh, I take the reins. And I look around and I look to the horse that's in front of us, and I'm just, well, at least this horse still lives. And I continue looking off into the forest, not caring if anyone just heard what I just said.
At least the horse does what now?
Still lives.
Okay.
Long story.
And Poppy would be entertaining Laura, making sure, you know, she's paying attention to the, you know, the beauty of the day and beauty of magic, maybe making that dust horse dance once again, but, you know, try not to show, you know, that people are, you know, feeling something other than happy, you know.
Yeah, and she's totally into it. She's like, she's always loves the attention, and she's yeah. There's never a moment where she seems to be bored or sad. She's just kind of super into it. Like, she's never been this far before. She's never been outside of her town, and she's never been on a cart, and there's a pony, and she's just ecstatic. If you've ever been on a hayride with someone who's never been on one before, it's kind of like that. Like, you know, she's just loving it. She's like, look at the flowers, look at the mountains, look at the air, look at the birds, look at the clouds. And she's just, yeah, she's easy to please, especially right now.
And Poppy would be, you know, dancing the horse to the flowers, you know, and he would also be maybe asking her, you know, do you know what those are? You know, what does that cloud look like? And what's the color of that? And, you know, just like, kind of those, like, do you know these cute little things about, you know, you should know these things about this age? You know, if not, I'll tell you, you know.
Yeah, she says, that one looks like the picture of a rabbit. Oh, and that looks like a duck. And she would be like, you know, if you're doing the whole cloud thing, and she would she would point to the sun and she would say, "And that looks like Mr. Big Eyes when he's angry."
What did I miss?
Poppy would say, Poppy would say, "Well, don't stare at that. That would hurt almost as much as Mr. Big Eye when he's angry."
Yeah. Yeah, she's kind of squints and looks away and she says, "Good idea." And in fact, you kind of notice that the sun is sort of getting close to the horizon now, as the day is kind of coming to an end. You can see a sign that you passed a sign about an hour ago that kind of indicated that you're approximately a day's ride from Mendora now, and it really looks like you're effectively in the middle of nowhere, just kind of open plains, sloping open plains in all directions. The occasional field of flowers, sure, but no real signs of many settlements here in the area. And as the night starts to get closer, you see, you kind of see in the middle of the road ahead what looks to be a man wearing some kind of robe. Seems to be kind of blue in color, draping over his face and his whole body. And Mori kind of looks to him and says, "It's time." And he without saying much, he kind of takes his place at the front of the cart and takes the reins and kind of guides the cart off the beaten path to the side of the road nearer to this man, and kind of brings the cart to a stop in the middle of this field. And he
Now, Bori, what are we doing?
he kind of ignores you and drops down onto the road, and you see him shake hands with the robed man, and he kind of bows slightly, and you can hear something in Dwarvish, which I believe we determined that none of you speak Dwarvish, so it's it's just a very brief, like a "Baradu," and then he repeats the phrase, and he kind of lets the hood of his robe down, and you can see that he's wearing a mask that kind of envelops his entire face, almost like it covers from both ears, like it covers his ear and the top of his head and his face and his pretty much everything except for the very back of his head, which seems to be clean shaven, bald.
Strange man.
And he's wearing a mask that seems to be metallic in nature, and it kind of gleams in the light of the sun. And when he speaks, the mask actually moves, like it animates as if it's speaking. "Good evening." And he kind of bows to you all.
Is Laura still awake at this time?
Yeah, she's kind of rubbing her eyes, and you can see that. Once the man in the mask starts to talk, Bori kind of scoops Laura up, and they go set up a little tent off to the side.
Okay. Then Poppy will jump out and he'll bow and greetings.
And he holds out a hand, and you can see that his hand seems to be covered in a gauntlet that makes it look like it's a metallic hand. But again, it looks like a mask or a glove, not his actual hand. And
Lean over to Resh. Maybe this one is a vampire.
Mm.
And Poppy will appear more than willing to shake his hand, but inside will be more than ready to, do whatever he can to get away.
Yeah, it's one of those very professional curt handshakes, and he just whatever handshake you offer him, he returns it in kind. He he gives you an equally curt handshake, and he kind of gives a subtle bow, and he kind of turns with a little flourish, like his robes kind of waft a little in the wind, and he says, "Today, you will call me Lamerick. I am the man with many faiths. Today, each of you will see what is revealed behind the mask. And then your journey may begin. Do you understand?"
But at this point, Neftos has already hopped down and shaken his hand as well.
And again, whatever handshake you offer him, he returns it. It's he's trying he seems to be trying very hard not to hold the handshake too long and not to be too powerful with the handshake. Just a very formal. And he gives you a small bow as well. And he, as he looks at you, you can see that his pupils, his iris, his pupils seem to be almost like silver, reflecting in the sunlight. And he looks at you, Neftos, and he says, "You are the keeper of the stones. Is this true?"
Of the what exactly?
The three stones.
Of the what exactly?
The stones.
Stones.
The three, how you say, rainbow gem.
Oh yes, indeed, I have those.
Hmm.
And he,
Reach into my belt pouch and pull them out. I have them here.
I'm sorry?
I have them here.
Okay. I think somebody's got a barking dog or something. So
Yeah.
I didn't quite catch the last part. Okay. And he... there's a red one, a yellow one, and a blue one, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
He takes the yellow one and the red one, and he leaves you the blue one.
Now what are you doing with those?
And he turns to you, Poppy, and he hands you, without even giving you a chance, he kind of takes your hand and puts the red stone in it, and then he just as quickly turns to Resh and he hands him the yellow stone.
It's Yellowstone.
Yes, he has all of the Yellowstone.
That fits in your hand?
Mm. It matches my eyes.
Indeed.
And he would say, the man in the mask, Lamerick, he would turn and he would say, "If you go on this journey, the toll is 1 copper coin." And he holds out his now empty hand.
What
Poppy.
journey is this? What journey is this?
the first step.
Hmm.
Poppy will trade hands with the redstone and will slip in, and it's not where he keeps his coins because Neftos would know exactly where he keeps his coins. But he'll reach down a little past that, and there's a rare coin. And Poppy looks at it and eyes Lamrick and will be like,
And Lamrick holds his hand out about 3 feet away from you, and the coin just goes into his hand like it's as if his hand was magnetic.
I guess that is the coin he wants.
And he looks at it, and he nods, and you can see a small smile form in the animated metallic face that is his mask. Yes, this is toll. Each must pay.
Alright. Pull out my small copper coin.
Alright. And almost as soon as you do, again he holds his hand out. The one coin is kind of glued to his hand, and it just kind of, you can hear the metal on metal clack as the coin hits his hand. And he turns to Resh.
Resh, who's still in the wagon at this point, reaches into his bag, pulls out about 10 books from the journey that we just went on before, leaves them there, tells Laura, read them the best you can, and then one book he opens and it's been hollowed out. He grabs the coin and just kind of throws it at the man and gets his stuff and jumps off.
Okay, so you're kind of throwing it like you would a cart, like here, have your keys, like that kind of throw, like an overhand.
Yeah.
And it does that for a minute, and then it's like it's on a string. And you don't notice this at first, but all 3 coins are stacked neatly on top of each other in his hand. And he looks at
That is a nifty trick.
and he just kind of chuckles quietly to himself. He says, the night comes quickly. We must
Indeed.
make haste. Now tell me, which of you would like to go on this journey first? I must know very soon.
I will go on journey first.
Okay. And he kind of, he says nothing. But
Farewell, Poppy.
I'm sorry?
Farewell, Poppy.
Yeah.
don't die alone.
Yes, you too.
As soon as you say you'll go first, he extends his hand with the hand without the coin in it out to you. And
Alright.
as soon as you kind of feel your hand being tugged towards his hand, and he says, "You must be willing. I cannot force this."
I take his hand.
And as soon as that happens, for those of you who are watching, for the 2 of you, Resh and Poppy, as soon as he takes his hand, the 2 of them just kind of seem to go like into nothing. And a split second later, well, I suppose we should continue from Nephtos' point of view.
That might be nice.
So that we don't have to retcon. Nephtos, you are in a small boat in the middle of an endless ocean. And the man is standing on the water, staring at you. The sea is roiling. It's kind of cloudy and stormy, and this kind of rising and falling, and he just seems to rise and fall with the waves as he slowly walks across the surface of the water as if it was solid towards you. And he kind of puts his hand to his mask and he says, you will see what you will see. What you see is uniquely you. And he pulls the mask off. And Nephthys, what do you see?
What I see is horrendous. It appears at first to be an elf of some form, but then lacerations start appearing on his face, and they just start to peel as maggots and beasties crawl out of the skin. There's a symbol carved on his forehead. It looks like this. Looks like that. And also around his neck appears a small coin, a gold coin that has an N carved into it. And he is just slowly rotting away. That is what I see.
Yes. And is this face familiar to you?
Not one bit.
And it seems to be cutting and decaying in front of you, and as it opens its mouth to speak, bile and insects and maggots just kind of fall out of his mouth. And he at first he doesn't seem to be able to speak, but it kind of clears out, and his jaw sort of unhinges a little bit, and he starts deteriorating even more, and you can see his skin melting away into bone, and the bone kind of becoming brittle and old and rapidly aging and becoming covered with what's that? That's like barnacles and moss and almost like coral-like substances as his body begins to decay. And he turns to you and he says, his voice is now different, unfamiliar. He turns to you and says, "He that commands the sea must not fear to drown." And you feel a weight pulling you down, and the boat kind of collapses around you as you are dragged beneath the water surface, just like a giant lead weight is around you.
Blub, 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 blub.
And you can see that there's hundreds of these skeletal figures, these elvish figures kind of dancing around you. Some of them almost look like undead mermen and undead things of that nature, Marrow and Koatoa, things like that. And they're all kind of looking at you, and you can see that they're trying to speak, but all you can hear is the water rushing over your ears as you feel the pressure of the water crushing down on you, especially in your inner ear as you're rapidly descending down. What little life there was is fading above you, and as you look up and you see the last of your air kind of expelling from your body. And in your right hand, you feel what seems to be a key to the shackle that's around your neck. And what do you do?
I unlock the shackle. Or I attempt to.
Okay. And as you do, you can kind of see the creatures that are around you kind of pressing closer in, just inches away from you now, staring at you, mouthing silently to you as the darkness kind of overtakes. You've never been this deep underwater before, but you feel the cold iron shackle unhinge and fall away to the distance, into the abyss below. You can kind of feel these skeletal hands clamoring, clasping at your legs. And you can kind of hear almost like the sound of water rushing in. You can almost hear these voices like, Lord of the Abyss, Master of Water, Commander of the Aquatic.
That is not me, you are wrong person.
And you go to say that, and the bubbles just come out.
Blah, 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 blah.
And you can kind of feel the whole world turn upside down, and you're starting to float. But it seems to be you're floating towards the bottom.
That's unfortunate.
And
I'm going to try to swim towards the surface, which is down.
Yes. Yeah, you kind of counterintuitively start to swim what you perceive to be down towards the darkness, which is actually, closer to the light as you do this. You can start to see the light of day kind of filtering through in the distance, kind of shimmering, and you are overwhelmed with a sensation, an urge to breathe. What do you do?
Continue swimming. I know the feeling of having to hold your breath, and I need to keep holding my breath.
And you can,
as much as it may suck.
You see a skeletal fish kind of swim by, and its mouth opens and it goes, "Surrender, surrender, you." And you said you're still kind of making your way closer to the surface?
My breath gave out.
Okay, and you can kind of feel, you feel yourself take in water, and has your character ever experienced drowning before?
Nope.
It's a very unpleasant, the pain, it's like fire in your lungs as you take in this water out of desperation for air, and it's not helping. You try again, but just more water comes in. You try to cough the water out, but of course it's deep in your lungs now, and your buoyancy is gone. You just have no way of floating, of even trying to fight this. You feel like you're so far into the abyss, and you can kind of feel the darkness closing in around you. But just as you feel like this is it, like you're going to die, you you breathe, and it's as if this is something you've always done. And all around you, these creatures that were once undead are alive and vibrant, and the sun is brightly kind of shining through now, and it's almost as if you're just diving in the ocean, and you suddenly feel at home, and you just as you kind of begin to feel that sensation, you reach to your face and you feel that there's a mask there, and you kind of pull it off, and it falls to the ground. And as you watch it fall, as it kind of drifts to the bottom of the sea, it kind of begins to glow, and it starts to light up the surrounding area, and it becomes a blinding light. And suddenly, it's just kind of for Resh and Poppy. Suddenly, seconds after taking the hand of this masked man, Neftos pops back into existence with the masked man to his side. He is completely soaked, and he's sputtering and coughing. And you
I
hear...
do not like swimming. Oh.
And you feel something in your hand where the stone once was. You can see that there's this ring. It is a white gold ring that bears the near lifelike carvings of aquatic life on it. And if you look at it, it's kind of slowly moving about. The metal on the ring is kind of slowly moving about. And if you look into the gem of the ring, which is made from this rainbow gem, it looks almost like moving water shimmering in the sunlight.
Interesting.
And you kind of suddenly feel this sensation of pain
Ow.
in your shoulder, kind of like a biting pain. And you look and you can see that the copper coin has embedded itself into you.
Oof.
This is
Not fan of this.
and it kind of burns for a second, but then the pain sensation kind of washes away, and the Lemuric says, "You have been bitten without compromise. Welcome to the Copper Jackals." And he holds out his gauntleted hand.
I shake it. Without compromise. You like saying that a lot, you people.
And he kind of chuckles and says, "Get used to it. It's kind of our thing."
All right.
And I think with that, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. What do you guys think? Maybe come back at 9, maybe 10 minutes?
Yes.
Yes. That sounds good.
All
10
right.
minutes.
Perfect.
Okay.
Alright, so those of you that are watching live, we'll be back in about 10 minutes.
And thank you.
Alright.
And thank you, yes.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
And thank you for any of you who are watching in the future, because that is also equally awesome.
You
Alright?
guys are cool. See you in 10 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Or- yeah.
Looks like I'm the first one back. I'll read some comments if my computer can handle both YouTube and Google Hangouts without breaking.
I'd be extremely surprised if there was comments. But grateful. Doesn't look like it. Got a couple upvotes. Somebody gave us a negative Dancy. That's alright. Man, how can you downvote hangovers and like party kegs and man? Yeah, you know, people want to be. That's all good.
And I am there.
Oh, hey, there is a comment.
Yeah?
Is there?
Yeah, it says that Robert guy is cute by Dynasty.
Alright. We got fans.
See here, 3 people are watching right now.
Yes.
Oh, those guys are the real MVPs.
One of them is my DM for my Sunday group, and he says, he just sent me a Facebook message. He is a really good DM. So,
My shucks.
One of them is a friend of mine that's a huge fan of Rush, probably.
yeah?
Well, we are more than 44 minutes into it, and the video seems to still be up at the moment, knock on wood.
Yeah, which, that's good.
Yeah.
In fact, it lasted almost a full hour longer than last time, so that's good.
When did, about how much longer do you guys want to go tonight? I don't know if you have things that you have to get to or get up early for.
I have a game at like midnight, but
I've got a dance I need to go to in a little bit.
Well, then we're basically just limited to when you want to go, Justin, because I'm third shift. This was early for me, so I got the rest of the night.
Well, I figured we would be doing another 3-hour session.
Perfect.
So that would put us at 10 o'clock, about an hour to go.
Yeah.
We should be able to wrap up.
Time zone differences. I almost said, so maybe wrap out at around 8?
Time travel.
Time zones.
When you're playing a game online.
Imagine, if you will.
A place called the Internet.
The Internet Zone. Someone's got loud noises. Who's
That's
eating a bag
just
of
it.
loud noises?
I was making more noise with more popcorn earlier.
Yeah.
I was
That's
making
alright.
more like coughing.
It's not a proper D&D game unless people are snacking.
Constantly. Popcorn, bagels, pretzels, banana bread.
and if you were a real good DM, you'd order pizza.
Yeah. What the heck?
Yeah, but he would get the pizza.
No, he does the Domino's thing and order for all of us.
Just a
Online.
pan.
They don't
No,
deliver in my area.
The logistics of that would be a bit tricky.
No, what we need to do is he needs to send us like $5 bills in the mail, and we all get hot and ready.
They're hot and ready. Take a drink. Oh wait, this isn't the Roll Up and Die podcast. We don't need to take a drink.
Unfortunately, the nearest Little Caesars is 3 hours away, so...
Good God, where do you
I
live?
have no idea. I have no idea where a Little Caesars is in relation to me.
I live in Oakland, and I think the nearest one's in like Memphis.
Goodness.
You guys are lucky. I know exactly where mine is, and it's a 10-minute drive at best. Worst.
Worse.
But then again, we have a Domino's and a Pizza Hut, so
Same.
So
I
you-
know Papa Murphy's.
You guys all right with doing the 2 more bites and then having a little moment and then wrapping it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's exactly an hour, but it should be pretty close.
Eh,
Yeah, and you can throw a goblin in there. We can just like. Oh. No, I'm kidding. I'm cool with a non-combat game.
this goblin is guarding a chest. Let's attack it.
Resh
I'm sure
stabs the guy in the mask.
Ah!
I'm not getting wet. Boom.
So Limerick,
I hate murder.
Limerick
hobos.
is surprisingly dry, and he kind of turns to the 2 of you that haven't taken the journey, and he offers his hand.
I hope you can swim.
At this point, Poppy will actually, you know, Poppy's always like, yeah, I'll go get him, da da da, but sometimes he's kind of like, let's go that way. And right now, he's, Lamrick asks for a volunteer, and Poppy's just gone.
He volunteered to not volunteer.
He volunteered to not volunteer behind the hobgoblin.
Upon the you need to swim, Rest slowly starts like taking off his chainmail. He's like, "Oh, this is gonna be like a good 5 minutes. You go ahead, Poppy." And then he like kind of picks you up and puts you in front of him.
Limerick's got this slightly annoyed look on his face, like, what's with the... He holds out his hand, and the light
Puppy,
of
you
the...
might want to look out for fire.
You see the light of the setting sun, and he says, "Boys, there is not much time." And he... Oh, Poppy, you're going for it?
Poppy is.
Okay. Resh and Nephthys, you see Poppy and Limerick burst into flame, and nothing but ash remains. Just
Maybe keep your armor on.
Slowly starts putting up.
so.
Starts putting it back on.
Poppy, you are in the middle of a desert wasteland. The sun seems to be about 3 times bigger than you've ever seen it before. And there's gouts of flame that kind of erupt from about a half mile or so away from you, kind of like a geyser, but made of fire. And you can kind of feel the heat of this place all around you, like you're in a giant oven. This is definitely somewhere that you've never been. And you can see kind of shimmering on the horizon like a mirage, Lamerick in the distance. He's too far away for you to hear him if he is speaking, but he just appears to be standing there.
Poppy will begin the long trek out there. He's going to take his pole out and kind of lean against it as this heat is just debilitating.
And you can feel the sweat just pouring off of you after a while, and the sand kind of starts to stick to your bare skin, and it sort of kind of burns as it does so, and the heat of the sun beating down on you is being radiated back at you by this sand, which is slowly turning into kind of a white, almost pure white, what you would associate with beach sands, just very, very white, almost almost looks like snow dunes at first, or like a snowbank, but it certainly doesn't feel like one. And for a long time, it seems like that Lamerick doesn't seem to get any closer.
And
In fact, it seems like hours pass.
and as Hoppy continues, his hat isn't shading his face nearly enough, and there's just sweat. There's no humidity, but that's not the point. It's so hot that even with zero humidity, he's just drenched, and he's wiping off his
And as
own
you,
skin color.
yes, is this the time? I'll leave it up to you. This is something that you can reveal that the players may or may not know about out of character or in character. It's up to you.
You want me to make a roll for it?
I would just say, what's your gut tell you?
Alright. Yeah, well, my gut's telling me that it's time to shed some clothing. So, what happens is, as this color runs out of his face, and he begins to lift up his hat, he shakes his head, and instead he unbuttons his shirt, and he takes out all this fluff and all this padding. He takes out his bullets, his darts, his slings, his pouches, and he's just bone underneath. He's pale and starved, and he tightens his belt up, and he slings all his weight over his staff, his regular pouch with his clothing and his mess kit and all of his actual tools on the other side, and he's trekking, feeling the breeze against ribs and gurgling stomach.
And suddenly, Lamerick is right beside you.
And he's actually going to fall back and drop his staff and his stuff, and he's going to climb forward and stand back up, grabbing his staff and kind of like holding each end, so pulling the stuff to the middle so it's all together and he can lean on it.
And Lamerick says, he just kind of looks to you and he says, you can see the gleam in his eyes from his metallic irises as he looks. He stares at you for what seems to be hours, what feels like hours, but is actually mere moments. And he says, I am not the only one who wears mask. Are you ready to see what you will see?
And Poppy's vision blurs, and he just, maybe not even consciously, just nods. Like, whatever the question was, just yes.
And You see Lemerick go for his mask, and it almost sizzles as he touches it from the heat, and he pulls it off. Uh, Poppy. It seems like he takes the mask off, and you see a face. What is the first face that you see? This seems like he's going to take a series of masks off.
The first is a dead man, a lord of stone timber, the tax lord. And he's gonna say, I killed you. I killed you.
The face is just looking at you with a blank expression, just staring at you as you say this.
I saw the life leave you. With that burn in your chest.
And you, as your finger kind of grazes his nose, you see little cracks form in the face, and it's almost like watching the desert dry up, like the cracks in the dry desert, as the mask again falls away, revealing a second face.
And this one, he can't recognize, but he knows. Because he knows what he did. Most of the face is unrecognizable scar, just blackened and crisped. But there's still one eye that stares at him like he's the monster. You should be dead too. I know what you did.
And as you kind of grab the mask, kind of touch his face again, the mask kind of falls forward, and you see yourself staring back at you. This time, if you say anything, it will speak as well. It will say what you say.
And in his mind, he's lost it. This is all an illusion.
And you see the man with your face erupt into flame, and the flame spreads to you, spreads over what little clothing you have left, and you feel it burning you as your body is engulfed in flame, and your clothes begin to burn away to nothing. And you can feel the searing pain, the worst pain you've ever felt, and suddenly there's nothing. It's just even as you lay in the desert in the searing heat, the sensation of heat is suddenly gone, and all that remains of a few burnt pieces of clothing and your staff, which is glowing with the lights of like the lights of kindled embers, just in your hand, and kind of like a log that's been in a dying fire. It's just glowing embers remaining in your hand, and you sort of stare at it for a while, mesmerized by it, and you feel You feel a mask, your own mask on your face that you didn't even know was there, kind of slide off. And you can see it's the face of Poppy slide off and shatter like it's made of ceramic. And a second mask slide off and shatter like it's made of ceramic. And you take in a deep breath. And Resh and Neftos, mere seconds after erupting into flame, you see several feet from the pile of ash comes poof, this puff of smoke, and you see Poppy kind of on his knees, his tattered, burned clothing, and this burning, this staff still burning in his hands, still smoldering, and atop of it is inlaid the red gem. And again, seconds later, you feel that bite as the coin embeds itself into your shoulder, and then the pain is gone, and you suddenly feel very cold. In the night, as the sun begins to set. Will someone kindly clothe this man? He will catch pneumonia. And Lamric just kind of looks to either of you. You will not clothe your brother.
Neftos takes his fine clothes and gives them to Poppy, revealing the leather armor underneath. Sorry, it might be a bit large.
Oh,
And,
Resh. Oh,
You go first.
alright, Resh reaches nearby for a stick, fire bolts it, and just sort of like gives it to you.
And Poppy, he's given up on. There's nothing covering his face. There's nothing covering his body except for this jacket, and he's just gonna. He can't do it anymore. He's just gonna turn to you both and he's gonna be like, I thank you both. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He's gonna huddle near the stick that he planted in the ground. He's just gonna huddle over it and keep warm, and keep his staff close.
And you see what little fire burns at the tip of this makeshift torch starts to slowly get drawn, like sucked into the tip of the staff, and it kind of glows faintly as it does so. The embers kind of glow back to life a little bit. It's radiating heat, but it doesn't burn you. And Lamric looks to the sun as it begins to peak on the horizon, and he says, "There's no time. We must make the final step." Take
Resh
my hand.
rushes to him and takes his hand.
And Poppy and Neftos, of what you see is in the clear coming night sky, a bolt of lightning just lances down and strikes where they are and makes this deafening boom, and again there's nothing there where they once were. And Resh, you are falling. You're falling from a height that you didn't even know was possible. You can see what looks to be all of Ainz beneath you, growing larger as you feel your speed increasing, as you feel the wind whipping on your face as you plummet. Uh, all you can hear is the violent sound of wind as it erupts across your eardrum. You see Lamerick as you fall. You can kind of catch glimpses of him, and he just seems to be walking on the very surface of the clouds, hundreds of feet beneath you, as the ground quickly swells up to meet you. And as you get closer to him, he kind of casually looks up at you, and he sprouts metallic wings, and in one great motion starts to fly towards you. And he's kind of free falling with you now in a more controlled manner. And he says, "I'm sorry for the urgency. We don't have much time." And he kind of guides your hand to his mask. "You will see what you will see. Make it happen."
And Resh would see himself, but a different version of himself. One that has been through more battles, more wars. And basically he can tell that this is what he would have been had he not been found out about the magic.
And your older self locks eyes with you and says, "This is what could have been. Why did you choose the path that you chose?"
We both know there was no choice.
And he kind of looks to you and he says, "Well, you have a choice now. Fly or plummet." And he kind of looks down, and judging by the looks of things, you don't have long. And you can kind of see more clearly the details of the countryside slowly coming more into focus. You can almost make out where the farmland is, where some of the cities are. You can see some ships, little dots on the ocean. And he turns to you and he says, "You must choose. Do you fly or do you fall?"
I fly.
And as you say that, you can kind of feel wings sprouting out of your back. They almost feel like an extension of yourself that you never knew you had. As they unfurl, you can feel the wind kind of catching it underneath it and lifting you out of this free fall that you're in. You can't quite control it, so you're kind of spiraling at first, and then you finally find a way to right yourself as you slowly descend, soaring in the air, just below now what is the cloud line. And you can see in the distance black storm clouds blotting the horizon and white hot bolts of lightning striking the ground. And suddenly yourself again appears at your side and says, "There's a storm at the horizon.
Hmm.
Do you command it or do you avoid it?"
I command it.
And with that you see this surge of lightning arc across the sky, across the clouds, from cloud to cloud, all gathering around you as you feel your body surging with electricity and heat, and it's the worst pain you've ever imagined. You can't control your limbs. You feel yourself plummeting again. You feel the electricity taking over your body and burning you, and then suddenly there's no pain. You're flying again, and you can feel the mask kind of loosening itself, and it doesn't fall, but it is ripped away by the wind as you fly, and you watch it tumble into the ocean below, and you begin to slowly make your way down, spiraling down, and as soon as your feet hit the ground, you feel this flash of blinding light, and Poppy and Nephthys, you see Resh suddenly land as if he'd fallen from, say, 5 feet on the ground uh, before you.
I've nailed Bahamut.
And you feel a very heavy presence in the hand that once held the gem. And you look down to your surprise. There's a book that you've never seen before in a language that you've never seen before. And inlaid at the front of the book is this yellow gem, and it kind of glows with a faint energy, which seems to crackle through the text of the front of the book for a moment before it disperses into the air. And you can kind of feel the hair on the end of your arm kind of sticking up a little bit, and your hair kind of if you have hair, I'm not sure if you do, but if you do, it kind of sticks up a little bit for a moment, and then goes back down. And just then you can see the very last remnants of the sun setting behind you. And Lamerick turns to you, and you feel that pain that the other two have felt in your shoulder. And it's just
well, I was gonna say, Resh just doesn't even flinch because compared to the lightning, it's really nothing.
Yeah, Resh is the only one who I believe didn't cry out in some manner when he got bit, and the other two are kind of impressed, I would imagine.
Well, were it a bite in the lungs, I would have been fine.
But this, he turns to Resh, Lamerick does, and he says, "Without compromise." And he offers his hand. He says, These items you see before you, they are what you must bear. You did not choose them, they chose you. Treat them with respect, but do not let your guard down. There is powerful magic afoot here. And he turns to you, Poppy, and he says, especially yours. And he kind of looks to all of you and he says, and now I may say, without hesitation, without compromise, that you are my brothers. And he kind of gives you all a very respectful nod and a deep bow. And he says, Remember always your purpose in this world. And
And what is that?
if you ask that, he kind of looks to you and he says, "That is not for me to reveal. Only you."
Oh, that's unfortunate.
And he kind of seems to dissipate into the air like a fog.
That man has many neat tricks.
And you can, whoever's got a fairly reasonable passive perception, you can see little footprints walking away.
Eh.
It's not quite as bedazzling as you would believe.
So did Poppy pretty much lose most of his gear? I mean, all of his clothing, but most of his gear.
Whatever you would have had on your person that was flammable is probably at least cosmetically damaged, if that makes sense.
Okay. Okay.
But if there's something that you really wanted to keep,
And your dagger is melted. Sorry.
No.
It's now a +1 dagger of fire.
No, the thing is, as he kind of stands up and ash falls off of him, this creature doesn't look like a gnome. Not anymore. What was his hair underneath his hat is all singed. There's not much of a hat left even. So it doesn't bother leaving it on. And he just peels it off because it's like attached by maybe sap or something. And there's just a pale bald head and he's actually gonna try to dig through one of his sacks. Hopefully it's not completely burnt to crisp, but he's gonna try to find a scroll. How damaged would be that? Like a rolled up piece of paper. It would be a scroll, but how damaged would that be?
just a little singed on the edges.
All right, because it was in the bag.
It was in a bag, yeah.
Yeah. He's gonna hand it to Nepdos, and he's going to say, "Aye, we're brothers now. Without compromise. Aye."
Aye.
If you want to unroll that. It's a wanted poster for a halfling named.
That it is.
It's named Bedouin Cobbler. For about 500 gold pieces dead, 1,000 gold pieces alive.
It is a good thing I know no Bedouin cobbler. Looks at you, looks at the picture. No resemblance at all.
And as the halfling flicks his fake nose, it kind of like flicks off some dust. No resemblance there. I see.
I wonder who he is. Seems like an interesting fellow.
Seems like a little jerk, I think he was.
I imagine so. Does the poster say what he's wanted for?
All it says is it enlists one name. It said wanted for murder, tax lord of Stone Timber, 500 gold pieces dead, 1,000 gold pieces alive. And it's got a pretty nice like chalk drawing, coal drawing of what might have been a respectable halfling at one time. Yeah, and while you're reading that, the halfling's gonna look at the half goblin and kind of just, kind of edge him over. Just, you just go ahead. I really can't say much right now.
Resh, sort of, as lightly as he can, knowing that you'll probably feel it more than anyone else will punch you in the arm, and in Goblin say, Turla, which is without compromise.
Right in the copper arm, too. Oof.
Gulramashnyar, which is Guldrag Infernal for without compromise.
And the halfling doesn't know what either of you are saying, but
But it's touching.
He's gonna say, this won't do. If Laura sees me like this, I don't think that'll be much she'll be liking. And so he's going to whisper as he reaches down about his waist and pulls up his hand. Boog rachik.
Gesundheit.
Yeah. And actually, whatever ash is left on him kind of turns into smoke and rises up and clouds it all over him, and then rushes away. And he looks just like he did before he vanished with Lamric. Just the complete clown outfit. Just looks exactly the same. You want me to roll on the magic chart for this one?
I'm sorry?
You want me to roll? It's a first level spell.
No.
No.
No. As you do it, your staff glows a little bit more. And it seems to work. Like you get this feeling, like this weird feeling of, wait, that was too easy. What? It usually takes more of my energy to do that. That's weird. But it's definitely perfect, whatever it is.
Alright, and he's gonna gather up whatever might be lying on the ground, whatever detached during the whole burning process. Try to pack it under this disguise.
Yeah, and you seem to gain some weight. It's I imagine you didn't have a lot to begin with that was flammable. Most of the stuff that kind of burned away was what would be effectively your traveling clothes. So if you had any armor or anything like that, it didn't destroy that. It just, it didn't do good things to your pair of pants that you had and things like that. But you didn't lose any armor if you have that kind of thing.
Nope.
Well, there you go. That makes it easy too.
Alright. And the halfling is going to look over at where Lamric was obviously left from, and he's going to look over to where I'm assuming the fire is, as Bori is tugging Laura in or something.
Mm-hmm.
If he can see it from this distance. And he's going to turn to Resh.
It's pretty easy to see because it's flat. But they're probably about, say, maybe like a 5-minute walk away.
Okay. So yeah. The halfling's going to turn to Nefdos. Nef Nefdos? Yeah, I said. I don't know why I always think that's weird. Nefdos and Resh, and just kind of be like, I. It's been a long day.
Indeed it has. Get some
Mm.
sleep, Poppy.
I
And there's a Maury was kind enough to set up tents for each of you before he turned in for the night. He kind of knew that this was a personal thing and he didn't want to be too involved in it. You can tell he's awake when you go, when you go into your individual tents, but he kind of keeps to himself. You can kind of see his silhouette by candlelight. He seems to be reading or doing something of that nature. But the night passes without much incident. Maury lets you guys sleep in to some reasonable modicum of probably say late morning, almost noon. And you can hear him kind of unfolding his tent and putting it away and saying, "All right, Andara waits, boys."
um
On our way indeed.
Won't be far now. And you can kind of see Laura's impatiently kind of jumping up and down on the cart. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go! Mandara! And she does like a little spin.
We shall continue, little one. Do not worry. We're almost ready.
Yeah,
and
it'll
before before the halfling would let Laura see him, he would transform again in the morning. Just and then come up to the girl, and he's actually gonna make it look like it's a magic trick, and he's gonna be like, Laura, you want to see something crazy, something magical, mystical, you know, dazzling, all those, and he's going to wipe away what looks like smoke, and the gnome is gonna slide off of him. The costume's gonna go, and he's in these, very normal clothes. He's got his pack on. He's got a vest with some weapons mounted just inside it, and
That's
be like, and he's a little bit cleaned up at this point, whereas there's makeup and soot and everything. He'd be like, ta!
And she does her jaw kind of drops for a minute, and then she just starts to like clap a little bit. Yay! Do it again! Do it again! I'm so mean. No, she, after a minute, she kind of forgets that she made that demand.
That's because I do the dancing dust pony in front of her face.
Yeah, pony. His name is Mr. Dustbutt, by the way.
Leave it to a little girl.
And I imagine every time you animate it, it gets a little bit bigger and a little bit more complex. In like it accumulates more dust. And
It was all day.
yeah, and she's playing with it the same way that all little girls play with it. She's just like making it go up and down with her hands. La 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 la. We're going to Mandara. We're going to Mandara. And yeah, she's just kind of lost in her own world. She's just kind of patiently waiting.
And Poppy would look or the halfling would look over to Resh and Nefdos and be like, come on, seeing what they're doing, seeing why they're taking so long.
Resh hands Nefdos his stuff, except for his maul. He says, "You guys go on ahead. I'll catch up in a minute. I need to go hit stuff." And he just walks away.
I am not very strong.
There's a pretty big old dead tree not too far from you, Rish.
Oh, Resh just lays into it.
And you guys kind of hear what sounds like almost like a lumberjack chopping down a tree, like a yeah. And then you hear and you see some birds, some like ravens, just go and start flying off from where the tree had fallen. And you see a very smug-looking Resh.
And when he comes back, he's like, "Neftos, you haven't got my stuff to the wagon yet? I was gone for a
In the
whole
wagon.
minute." Oh, okay.
And Bori's just kind of like, he's right, you know. He gave you a whole tree walking. That's a long time by his standards.
Oh, shush, you small dwarf.
And you guys we cut to later in the day as you guys are kind of getting closer to the city proper. You can see in the distance the coastline, the south coast of Innis. You can see the ocean kind of gently rolling in. You can see the merchant ships coming into dock. You can see the elven influence in the architecture, but you can also see that this is a city of mixed heritage. You can see the human influence as well. There's tall castles and stone walls, and there's also these very elaborately built structures that are seemingly designed just for the sake of being designed. They're kind of beautiful only for their own sake. They don't seem to serve much other purpose than that. So it's kind of a mix of the two things. And as you're coming into town, just outside the wall, you all kind of see something, but Resh especially, you see something that you really don't expect. You see, to the other two of you, you would see someone who looks emaciated, looks like they're starved, like they haven't eaten a proper meal in weeks, and they look very pale and sickly. And you can see kind of sticking into the arm a needle that's been plunged down, and there's this mercurial liquid leaking out of it. And you are concerned, but not nearly as concerned as Resh, who recognizes immediately, despite his condition, his brother.
Right.
And that is where we're going to end it tonight.
I'm gonna go flip a table.
Oh!
Rush goes running into town searching for a table.
He goes to a
Flips
table.
it and then runs in.
He goes to a furniture store, buys a table just so he can flip it.
Brings it back out, flips it.
Returns it. I bought it this way.
Your delivery guys knocked it off the truck. That's what happened. And I better get a refund for this.
I buy another table, flip it.
Oh,
man.
God damn it.
Well, that was a very appropriate game.
I don't think
that
your
was-
brother got the letter.
Yeah, when you said you were going to send him a letter, I'm like, oh no. That makes it
Oh,
so
well.
much better.
At least he got to his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Jesus
I'm going
Christ.
to have. I'm going to go ahead and stop the broadcast and
Yeah.
just thank you to everyone who was watching, everyone who will be watching.
Do we want to do
appreciate
outros? Because I don't think we did any intros.
We did
can if we
not. I
want.
thought of that about 10 minutes into the stream.
Yeah, I think we did an intro outro thing last time, but since it got cut off,
Yeah.
we might as well do an outro this time in case people didn't catch it the first time, or in
Yeah,
case
especially-
this is
yeah.
their first time watching.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and start with Dynasty.
Alright. I'm Dynasty. You can find me on YouTube as Dynasty. That's a channel I play games, I talk about RPG stuff. I'm gonna go flip a table after this. That wasn't a joke.
Yeah.
And I'll pass it on to Grady.
All right. Well, I'm Grady Cook. I don't have a channel, so I'm gonna plug T the Writer on YouTube. He does some hilarious recaps of his stuff, shortened down from his perspective only, so it's very one-sided, but that's fun. And then yeah, I'm gonna pass it over to Justin.
I am Justin Nickerson on YouTube. I have a channel, nothing on it. Don't know if anything will ever be on it. It is Justin, the Briefcase Gamer, and that's pretty much it. Have a nice night, or day, or whatever time you're watching this.
And to the
And our-
computer overlords who are watching this in the future, 1010001000100010. That is all.
I accept
Exactly.
your presence.